Today I'm going to talk about my postpartum recovery. And if you are somebody who has been scared about how pregnancy and postpartum recovery could affect your healthy, active lifestyle, hopefully this video could give you a little bit of reassurance. Obviously, everybody's recovery and timeline is different, but I was amazed by how quickly I got back into running after having a baby. First and foremost, if you are pregnant, I think it is super important to keep training throughout your pregnancy. Now, I was very lucky in that I had an amazing pregnancy. I had a little bit of morning sickness at the beginning, but I had no back pain, no pelvis pain. I was able to train throughout. My last run was when I was 37 weeks pregnant, and my last gym session was actually the day that I went into labor. So I was very lucky. When I found out I was pregnant, I was actually due to run a 100k ultra in 3 weeks time. So I was at my peak running fitness. Obviously I didn't do my 100k ultra, but I did keep running throughout. My mileage dropped significantly. Your heart rate goes up, you feel tired, you feel heavy, but I still did a 5.5-ish kilometer loop every second day. And it was hilarious because I was running at like a 7-minute per kilometer pace, and I would have to stop to pee about 3 times, but I still felt good in my body. And I kept telling myself, I'll keep running until it feels off or until it feels wrong. And that is my first message to you, is that keep training throughout your pregnancy until it feels off, and then you can adapt things. So when the running started to slow down, I started going to the gym, and the gym is not really my place, but I did ask the gym instructor for an upper body session and a lower body session. Really simple and pregnancy friendly. So I started going to the gym as well, because another piece of advice that I was given is to stay strong and to keep your back strong. And that is true, because your back takes a beating after the baby is born. And there are quite a few reasons why you want to stay active during your pregnancy. I know there's a whole range of benefits for your baby. They're born with better cardiovascular health. I think they hit milestones sooner. I could be so wrong here, but the blood from your body flows to your placenta better, therefore you're supplying your baby with nutrients better. So that's just the benefits for your baby, but the benefits for yourself are huge as well. You're moving your body, you're feeling good about yourself. You're maybe going to prevent some of those notorious pregnancy issues. Again, I'm not a professional, so I don't know, but all I can speak from is my own experience. So Rosie came 2 weeks early, and like I said before, I went to the gym that morning and I went into early labor that afternoon. It was a long labor. It was 30 hours in total. And that is a lot on your body. It's kind of all a blur, but after she was born, I just remember my neck and my shoulders being so incredibly sore. And I was scared about how my body would recover from this. I didn't know if I would be able to run again. I was scared of things like prolapse or just your hips changing shape, and it is just that fear of the unknown. So feeling very rough in those early weeks, and I had no desire to run. Like, I have a friend who told me that she went for a run 2 days postpartum, and I was like, why though? What is that about? Like, why do you need to go for a run 2 days postpartum? I had no desire to get back into things anytime soon. My expectations were incredibly low. I just spent that time recovering with my baby and with my family. During those early days of postpartum recovery, I went for a lot of walks with the pram, and a lot of walks wearing Rosie, because that was one of the only ways that she would sleep. So my legs did get pretty decent workouts with those. As the weeks went on, I did start to do some very gentle core work. So in the lounge, on the floor, I would just do some very gentle sit-ups, gentle hip thrusts, gentle leg lowers, and I had the pelvic floor physio booked in for 5 weeks postpartum. Now, what the pelvic floor physio does is they assess your core and they assess your pelvic floor, and they have a feel up there. They feel the strength of the walls of your pelvic floor. And so I got the recommendation not to get back into running because my pelvic floor was very weak, and when it's weak you are at quite a high risk of a prolapse, which you do not want. So my amazing pelvic floor physio gave me a proper set of core exercises and a proper set of leg exercises, and she told me, you can do these when you're holding your baby, you can put your baby on your knees when you're doing your sit-ups, you can hold your baby when you're doing those lunges or those squats. And she said, if you want to get back into running, these are going to help you to feel strong again, but also prevent injury when you do get back into running, because your muscles have been conditioned again. Obviously your muscles are going to lose a lot of their condition. You can't just go back and run a 10K. Those kinds of exercises, personally, I find very boring. I've always been a high energy, high impact cardio gal, and I've never really liked Pilates and yoga and that kind of slow stuff. So you just have to be patient. It's slow, it's boring, but you don't really feel like doing much anyway. So it was helpful to have a plan to follow. Now, even though she told me not to run, 6 weeks postpartum, I did go for a run. And the reason I went for a run is because my mental health was struggling a little bit. Our baby was very unsettled. She had reflux and colic, and she cried a lot, like screamed a lot. And so I was suffering. It was rough. And my partner said, why don't you just go out for a run? Because for me, that's my happy place. That's like my meditation. So I remember going out, and it felt awful. That first run, to be fair, it was stupid because I tried to do the same loop that I did when I was pregnant, and oh my God, my breath, my heart rate was so high. My shoulders felt so tight, and my hip flexors. I just felt awful. I didn't recognize this body. That was the thing that really shocked me, was that this isn't what it feels like when I run. Normally when I run, I feel light and I feel like a gazelle, and I'm happy and I'm free. And that really freaked me out. And I came home, and I think my mental health was worse than when I left. I should have just listened to the advice of my pelvic floor physio to not go out. And so after that run, I took another 8 weeks off from running. I was really put off by it, and I slowly just worked on my core and worked on my leg strength. And so it wasn't until 8 weeks later, and we were still struggling. Rosie didn't really settle until she was about 6 or 7 months old. So still struggling. But my partner at that time, at about, about 14 weeks postpartum, he said, why don't you just go out for a run again? Go on. You've got this 20 minutes, just go. And that second run that I went for postpartum felt better. Maybe when I did that first run, my body just was not ready. I was still recovering from a 30-hour labor from pushing a whole entire human out. After that second run, where things felt a little bit better, I started to get back into regular running, and things just significantly improved. So I think after that second run, which was 14 weeks postpartum, I went for another one about 4 days later, and slowly I just got back into this regular routine, and I would just nip out for runs whenever I could. So when my partner got home from work, or when there was a family member here to watch Rosie. You can't run with your baby until they're about 6 months old. So I just tried to steal any moment that I could to get out. And it was for my mental health. It was not for fitness. It was not for any goal. I had no idea if I was gonna get back into my prior fitness. Comparison is not useful. I think there's so much noise on social media of women who have had a baby and a week later they're on the treadmill. My pelvic floor physio ran a 70-kilometer ultra when she was 11 months postpartum, and I kind of wish I didn't know that, because again, comparison is not useful. And being an ultra runner myself and having crazy goals, I kind of thought like, oh, well, I have to do that too. If she can do that, I can do that. And then I quickly realized my situation with my baby would absolutely not allow that. I mean, we're 8.5 months in and we're still not really getting any sleep. So there's no way that I personally would be able to train for a 70-kilometer ultra marathon. I should also add that I started to do really easy, simple half-an-hour workouts in our garage. My partner converted it into a gym type situation. He got some dumbbells, he got some kettlebells, skipping rope, things like that. And so I used AI to build me a leg workout, an upper body workout, a core workout, and a mobility workout. And so those actually were the priority before running, especially because I couldn't run with Rosie. On those weeks where I was just alone at home by myself, I would quickly nip out into the gym when Rosie was having her naps. And those were amazing for my mental health. And I think that those have helped me to build back my running so much stronger than I was before. So just to summarize my postpartum recovery and getting back into running, there were so many moments where I was scared and that I was doubtful of how I would recover and if I could run again. But it is safe to say that at 8.5 months postpartum, I just ran a 20-minute, 48-second 5-kilometer run at Park Run last weekend. Park Run is a community volunteer event where you get timed on how fast you can run a 5K. It's not it's not a race. People walk it. It's every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And when I was about 4.5 months postpartum, my partner and I agreed that park run on a Saturday morning was my thing, where I could go by myself, guilt-free, and just run and just be with my people who I used to be friends with, and talk to them about running and about goals. And it was nothing to do with baby. We didn't talk about babies. And I still do that to this day, and I love it. And if you can arrange something like that with a family member every week, it is going to be amazing for your mental health. It's just that one thing that you can look forward to each week, where you're going to be by yourself, and it's for you, it's for nobody else. Whether it's a gym session or it's a walk and a coffee date with a friend, no babies allowed. So when I started to do park run, my first one was super slow. I was pretty sore, but each week I have improved. And now this is the thing that I train for, you know? And it gives me such a kick and such a high when I'm improving. And I'm stoked about that. I don't know when I'll be able to do an ultra marathon again, but I do have goals this year to maybe run a half marathon. If you accept that this is your body now, you have just birthed a whole entire human. You're kind of starting from a blank slate. You're setting new habits, new routines. You can't compare yourself to your old self, and you can't compare yourself to others. You too will surprise yourself, and you will probably be stronger mentally now and be able to achieve things that you never imagined.